All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Fox Talks. I'm David Fox, certified high performance coach and member of the Pennsylvania Wilderness Search and Rescue Team. So, before we started today, I took a quick peek into the registrations and I saw a lot of familiar names. So, for the familiar names, welcome back. And I saw a lot of new names. So, for the new folks, welcome. And for you, I'm just going to do about 30 seconds of housekeeping before we dive in, just so everything makes sense to you. So, first thing is we keep the cameras off and the mics cold. And we do that so that there's no distractions. So, we have 30 minutes, got a lot of material to cover. And so, we don't have that distraction of seeing people's backgrounds and their cameras and all of those things. Second thing is that Jen's going to be monitoring the chat. So, if you have any questions or any comments, just put them in the chat and Jen's there for you. And we do it that way so that I can just focus on giving you real value for the next 30 minutes. The next thing is that because we keep the cameras off, use the reaction bar at the bottom liberally, right? That's the thing where you give the thumbs up and the hearts and the different emoji faces. Do that so that I can know if what I'm sharing, if it's landing, right? If you're tracking, if it's serving you. Okay. One other thing is have a pen and a journal or notebook ready because you're going to be taking some notes. Okay. Fantastic. Let's get started. So I want to start with something that I learned the hard way. So I think, as you know, before I became a certified high performance coach, I was a product instructor for Special Forces medics for like a decade, right? So that was a lot of training. So in one of the sessions we had created for the Special Forces medics and for the physios, the warrior performance physios that support them, we created this new training module. And it looked like it was going to be simple on paper. Had a clear objective, had a great team running it, plenty of skill, and yet people failed. Now, they didn't fail because they didn't care. They didn't fail because they weren't disciplined. It's not because they weren't capable. They were off the charts capable. No, they failed because we overloaded them. All right, we had too much information, too many inputs, too many things demanding their attention all at the same time. Now, what surprised most people wasn't that performance dropped, because you could expect that. If you give a lot of inputs, performance can drop. What was surprising was how fast it dropped. You see, when your attention is split, even elite performers can miss obvious things. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you don't care. It's just because the brain has limits. It's just the reality, and there's no way around it. Now, here's the part that most people don't expect when we share the story. So, when those failures happened, nobody said, try harder, or we didn't say, be more disciplined, or show more grit. No, we didn't say anything like that. What we said was, what can we remove? Right? What can we remove? Because focus isn't about effort. It's about capacity. And that a lesson applies just as much in your work, in your leadership, in your life, as it did to that environment. Okay, so let me take this a little further. January trains us to believe a really specific story. And that's, if your focus is slipping, the answer is more discipline, tighter habits, better routines, more grit. Now, let me be clear. Discipline matters. Habits matter. They matter a whole heck of a lot. I mean, they're the difference between being a high achiever and becoming a high performer. They're the difference between having a wish or a dream and actually achieving it. So habits and discipline, they're not the problem. In fact, they're part of the solution. But here's what we see again and again. Discipline and habits work best when they're applied to the right system. See, when the system is overloaded, Discipline gets used up just on maintenance instead of progress. You're not building momentum in that case. You're just like holding things together, right? Does that sound familiar? Does that sound true? I bet it does. So today is not about replacing discipline and habits. It's about protecting them. Because when attention is constantly drained, even your best habits are going to struggle to hold. Now, focus doesn't disappear because you don't care. It disappears because too much is coming at you too fast. So let me give you a story to kind of cement this idea. I think everyone might remember the Lucille Ball, the I Love Lucy show when Lucy is on the candy conveyor belt, right? Like the candy's coming down and she needs to package up the candies. And so when it starts, she's standing there and the candy's coming down the line and she wraps it and puts it in the box and everything's going great. Everything's fantastic. It's all smiles. And then the candy line starts to speed up. So the candies are coming faster to her. And at first she's doing okay, but then she starts to struggle. She's having a hard time keeping up. It just keeps coming faster and faster. And then not just faster, but even more is coming down the line all at once. And she's struggling. She's trying to keep up and she can't. So first she starts just like jamming the candies in the boxes. Then when that doesn't work, she starts throwing candy in her mouth and she gets these big chipmunk cheeks full of candy. And when that doesn't work, she starts shoving the candy in her clothes. It's a really funny bit. Now, remember what makes a joke funny, what makes some of those bits funny is often because there's some truth in it, right? It's what makes it relatable to us. So in every joke, in every skit, there's some truth. And so there's some truth in this one with Lucy as well. Now, she's not lazy. She's not bad at her job. She's just overloaded. Now imagine someone standing beside her as she's struggling with all these candies. And they say something like, let's optimize your technique or move faster or be more disciplined, right? None of that would fix the real problem. See, the problem isn't how she's packing the candy. The problem is that too much candy is coming too fast. Now, why do we share that story? Because that's the modern high achiever's life, right? You have emails and meetings and requests and expectations and information, and it's all hitting you at once. So what do most people do? Well, they probably would try to optimize the packing line. New systems, new apps, new routines. But the candy just keeps coming. So here's the truth that most people don't want to face. You cannot optimize your way out of overload. Now that one's important. I'm going to say it again. You might want to write this down and then circle it and underline it and star it because it's incredibly important. You cannot optimize your way out of overload. The only real solution is subtraction. Something has to come off the line. Something has to slow down. Maybe something has to stop. If you're tracking with me, give me some reaction. Give me a thumbs up or something, just so I know that this is landing for you and it's making sense. Excellent. Thank you. All right, so let's make this real. So grab a pen and your sheet of paper or your notebook or your journal, whatever you have, okay? And so I want you to answer one simple question, just honestly and quickly, okay? What is hitting you faster than you can process it right now? Okay, so what is hitting you faster than you can process it right now? Not what's annoying you, not what you wish you were better at. What is actually coming too fast? If it helps, let's maybe think of these in categories. Okay, so let's say, is the information that's coming at you, or is it people needing responses? Is it expectations that you've agreed to that maybe no longer have a purpose, right? Now it's an obligation. Perhaps it's not providing the return on the effort that it once was? Is it decisions that you're carrying alone? Maybe it's mental tabs that you keep reopening and keep going over the same territory over and over again. So write a few things down. I'll give you about 30 seconds. Go ahead and write some down. What are those things that are coming at you too fast? We've been doing this a while, and it is always the weirdest feeling to just sit here in silence in front of you. I apologize for breaking the 30-second silence. It's something I need to grow in my own ability as a coach. I can't sit here quietly. Forgive me. Okay, so you've written a few things down. Now, underline just one. Okay, not the biggest, not the hardest one, just the one that feels like that candy coming down the line faster than you can pack it. Okay? So do you have that one? Great. Now, ask yourself this. If this slowed down just by 20%, what would change? Not that it disappeared, not that you fixed it forever, just slowed down. What would feel different in your day? What would your energy be like? What would your thinking be like? How would it be different? See, most people feel relief just even right there. And that tells us something important, doesn't it? Okay, so now look at the thing that you underlined and ask this question. Answer this question, forgive me. What controls the speed of this candy? Now, there are typically only 5 levers. Okay, so let's go through those. So what controls the speed of that candy coming at you? We're going to keep using that analogy, okay? So one would be the load. So how much comes at you at once? You could think of folks that are tax preparers, right? They have the busy season, the tax season. All those returns come in this short amount of time, unfortunately. So load is the first lever, perhaps, or perhaps it's the second one, which is frequency. How often this hits you. Or maybe it's timing. It's when it hits you. Maybe it's ownership. Who actually owns this task, this thing, this responsibility? Or maybe it's access. Who can reach you and how easily can they do so? Okay, so you have load, frequency, timing, ownership, and access. So which one is it for you? You only get to pick one. Okay, so now look at what you underlined. Now answer this question honestly. How long have you been telling yourself that this is just temporary? Oh, that hit hard, didn't it? Was it just this quarter? Is it, just this client? Is it just this season? How long have you been telling yourself this is just a temporary situation? See, if nothing changes, is that actually going to be true? If nothing changes, will it be temporary? Will it be just this client, just for this quarter, or will it continue on for the foreseeable future? You see, as coaches, we get paid to push. You hire us to push you so that you can achieve more and so you can accelerate that growth. So let me push you a little bit here. What I want you to do is write this sentence and then finish it. Okay, so write this down. For the next 7 days, comma. So write that down. For the next 7 days, comma. I will slow this down. For the next 7 days, comma. I will slow this down by changing blank. And that blank is for you to fill in. So for the next 7 days, I will slow this down by changing what? Maybe you reduce the load. Maybe work on the 20% of the action that produces 80% of the value or 80% of the effect. Maybe it's you reduce the frequency. So maybe you batch things instead of responding to each one individually all day and having that interruption. Maybe you change the timing, move it out of your best thinking hours. We had a whole Fox talk on the science of productivity. And one of them was mastering your calendar. And when we talked about your peak performance window, we talked about the science behind that. And we won't go into all the particulars because there's lots of variables that affect it. But for most people, it's in the first couple of hours in the morning. So when you get to your desk or wherever it is, it's usually for the first hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So think, what do you spend your peak performance window doing? This is the time when you are at your best cognitively, at your best amount of creativity. This is when you can think deeply about problems and when you're going to react with the best possible way. What are you spending that on? Are you spending it on maintenance? Are you spending it on emails? Are you spending it on status reports and status meetings? Or are you doing the big needle moving work that's going to propel your career or your team or your business forward? Right. So if that candy's coming down in your peak performance window, maybe we could shift when that candy hits you so it doesn't interrupt that prime thinking time. Okay, maybe it's you shift the ownership. So you clarify what is actually yours to carry. And we've had a number of clients when someone had left the business and before they had the new hire to replace them, they had to divvy up the responsibility. So they took on some additional responsibilities and work like a good team member should. But maybe that person never gets hired. They're never replaced. Or when they do, you've been doing the work so well that they keep it with you. And maybe that's not the best place for it to reside. Maybe that responsibility really shouldn't be yours. So maybe you shift the ownership. Maybe you limit access. So you can change how and when people can reach you. You could even change who has the ability to reach you. Now, for a lot of the executives we coach, that's a hard one. Most folks do not want to limit who has access to them. They love the open door policy or whatever it might be. But at the very least, you can change when and how they can reach you. Now, this is not a life decision. This is a 7-day experiment. Okay. So now one last question. If you don't do this, what's the cost? If you don't slow down that candy line, what's the cost? Think about what's the cost to you personally. Maybe if you don't slow that down, you won't have the time to upskill yourself so that you can position yourself for a promotion. Maybe the cost to you might be you're just going to get burned out. And you might love the job you're at, love what you do, love the people that are around you. You love the mission of the business or the organization you're in, but you're just going to burn out and it won't be sustainable. Maybe that's the cost. Maybe the cost might be in your health. If you're always overloaded and stressed and overwhelmed, that's going to create cascading issues in your health. You know that. Maybe it's you just don't have the time to be physically active. And you know all the wonderful benefits that are going to come from being physically active, but you just don't have the time because the candy's coming too fast. Maybe it's with your family and your relationships that the cost is going to be that you don't have as much time to spend with them as you wish. Or when you come home, they get the leftovers of your attention and energy. Maybe it's going to be the cost of your joy. So many of our clients, when they first come to us, when we do our life arenas assessment that looks at the 7 areas that comprise your life, hobby and joy is one of them. Everyone has such a low score there because they sacrifice that for everything else. So they're sacrificing their joy in life for things that aren't providing it. What's that cost? Maybe the cost isn't to you, it's to your team. You don't have the time or the energy to mentor your team like you wish you could. That would help them. Maybe you don't have the time to do that real critical thinking, that strategic work that's going to advance your business and propel it and create opportunities for everyone that reports to you. So what's the cost if you don't fix it? Okay, now let's flip that. Let's make this a positive finish on this. If you do fix it, or I should say when you fix it, when you slow down that candy line a bit, what opens up for you? Right? What that you didn't think was possible yesterday will be possible once you slow down that candy line. Do you have that vision? Do you have what that could be? Excellent. Look, you don't need to remove all the candy, right? You just need to slow down the line enough so you can think again. So what we've done today here is clear space, right? But clearing space doesn't tell you what belongs there, right? Just clearing space alone doesn't tell you, well, what should I put in that new capacity that I have? See, most people, unfortunately, when you remove a few distractions, they then fill up the space with just more noise because they didn't have a plan on what to put in that space. It's something that we do in the academy. It's why we created the academy, so that we could go a little deeper with you in all of these areas, right? So it's different than what we're doing today, right? For the academy, we turn the cameras on, the mics are hot, it's real coaching. And this month, we're also working deeply on focus, just like today's theme is. And not just removing the distractions, but clarifying what should get the attention, what should fill that space. So we looked at the Life Arenas assessment I mentioned. There's 7 areas. And so our members picked the one, they graded themselves, scored themselves, and said, this is the one I want to work on, of the 7. This is the one I work on for the next month or 2. And so they looked at what their score was and what they wanted it to be. And they looked at that gap. And we said, all right, this is where I want to find success. And so we had them get really specific on defining what that success looks like. How do you know when you get there? So saying, I want to be more physically fit is too vague. Make it specific. We had them make it specific. How will you know when you're more physically fit? How do you know when you've arrived, when you found success? And they wrote that in a sentence that they can put by their computer or on their dashboard or on their phone, saying, this is what I'm trying to accomplish over the next 2 months. And then they came up with 5 or 6 ways to go accomplish it. So they had agency and options for how to accomplish it. And then we calendared them. So they put one step to do in the next 48 hours after our call, and then one the following week and the week after, and they put it on their calendar so it would get done. And we even brainstormed, well, what would be some things that could derail your efforts? And we preempted them. So they started with awareness and then moved through intention and then to action. And then our second session, we actually worked on turning them into real habits so they could have traction and lasting and sustainability. So that's what we do in the academy. So that's the reason why I'm explaining that to you, is so you can see how this work continues to progress. Okay, so we're coming to a close here. Here's what I want you to remember. Focus isn't about trying harder, right? And it's not about abandoning discipline or habits. It's the exact opposite of that, right? It's about creating the conditions where your discipline and your habits can finally work. Slow down that candy line. Protect your attention. And give your best efforts room to land. Hey, we love providing these free coaching sessions each month, and we would be honored to work with you at a deeper level, to really unlock the amazingness that's inside you. Okay. I know we finished up a little bit short today. That's fantastic. We're giving you back the gift of time, 4 minutes. Look, thank you for being here. We look forward to talking to you soon. Cheers.